Okay, I think we're live. Um, Hello everyone. Welcome to my senior show, Revamp Print Design. Thank you all for coming. I'm so happy you're here, and I know I shared a lot of it on social media. So that's probably how you guys heard about it, which I'm really glad about. So yeah, let's get to it. So my name is Riley Souchek. I'm a senior graphic design major here at Doane. Um, what brought me to Doane, surprisingly, wasn't graphic design. I had no idea what I was gonna do here, and it took me quite a while, probably most of my freshman year and half of my sophomore year, but, after taking a few art classes and graphic design classes, I knew what I really enjoyed doing. So, throughout my graphic design classes, we did so many projects that really challenged me and helped me learn, what I ooh, I'm sorry. We did so many um, so going through my graphic design classes, we did, so many projects, as I said, that really challenged and helped me learn, what I enjoy doing, and also things that I enjoy doing a little less. But I found out that, brand design and identity design was one I really enjoyed doing because I love playing around with typography and form and color. So, in my past classes, we've done a few projects creating publications, catalogs, and style guides, and those are probably the ones I am most proud of out of everything I've done. When I was talking to my professor about what I should do for my senior show, she suggested I do a magazine rebrand. Um, so we can go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Yeah, Revamp Print Design. So I had no idea what I was gonna do at first for this project. I thought that, doing a magazine rebrand was a really good idea because it was, putting things together that I really enjoy. So my next step, was to research, different magazines to see which ones, needed a rebrand, but surprise, surprise, not many design magazines needed designing, but, after quite some time of researching, I came across Communication Arts. Um, so the reason I chose, this magazine was because it has been around for more than 60 years, and not once, has anyone done a rebranding of it, which is really surprising because, a lot of companies you see probably rebrand their company, every, like, 5 to 10 years. Um, this presentation will be available at the end of this live video, so you can, click through it at your own pace. Um, so a little bit about Communication Arts. It was founded by Richard Coyne and Robert Blanchard in 1959. Communication arts is really the premier source of inspiration for pretty much anyone involved in design and communication. Okay. All right, so this first graphic on the left is my redesigned logo for Communication Arts. Um, this logo took me a very long time to finalize. It was a lot of um, designing something and then rethinking it and designing something else. But finally, I've been working on this project all year, and finally, probably in um, January, February, I finally figured it out and nailed it down. But basically, the old logo for Communication Arts was a C and an A together, and you can go look it up if you want to compare the two. But the C and A were in a very old style serif font um, with the words Communication Arts right next to it. So I played around with so many fonts and different designs for the iconic mark, which is the mark on the left side. Um, with the original logo, the C and the A kind of stand for the I for design, and I wanted to transfer that onto my design as well. So I played around with kind of the shape of the eye. You can see the C and the A in my logo as well, with the C being that kind of moon shape, but I also see it as kind of an eyelid, and the A being the curve over here with the dash going across. And the dash also, the way it curls around makes kind of an eye or an iris. So that's how I kind of put in the I for design. So with the typography, the com arts on the right, I started playing with the words communication arts at first, that full word. But that just always seemed too long, and I couldn't get it locked up with the iconic mark very well. It just seemed very long, and it didn't work very well. So we came up with the shortened name called Com Arts. And using this, it really helps create a rectangular shape, which is what you want to see in logos. So on to the next one. So this is one of 4 magazine covers I designed for Com Arts. Um, so I decided to rebrand um, the magazine covers based or the magazines for communication arts that were the 60th anniversary magazines back in 2018. I decided on these specific magazines because they were all tied to each other for the anniversary, and they had a lot of historical references in the articles. One article specifically, which is and history is something I really enjoy, so I really liked that they did that, and you'll see that later in my show. Um, so the article on this, or sorry, the artwork on this cover is Tran Nugent, and you'll see her in an article later as well. And the information on the top right of this cover is sort of highlight articles that are in the magazine, along with the page numbers, which are the little numbers on the top right. So on every one of my covers as well, you see the Com Arts logo split up instead of together like you saw back in the room. I did this because usually in Barnes and Nobles, if you go to the magazine rack, except for the front row, all you see is the top of the magazines, and that's where most magazines put their names and their logos. And I really wanted my iconic mark on the top left because it's really recognizable, and someone could see that on a row and be like, "Oh, that's Com Arts right there." So that's why I did it. Yeah. So next is an environmental graphic of the photography annual and design annual. We'll see the photography annual in the next slide, but I photoshopped these two onto this picture just to show you what it would look like in a realistic environment as a magazine. Okay, so this is my photography annual 60 that you saw before. This is Marilyn Monroe on the cover, and um, the pictures I use on my covers are usually pictures that are in the magazines, but not all of the photographs I use you will see in the articles I redesigned, like the other cover. As you probably noticed, there is always a white border around my magazines. I decided to do this because it puts a frame around the picture and lets it stand out from the others, like a regular picture frame does. So, along with standing out from the others on each of my covers, you will notice that part of the picture is always breaking the white border around the magazine in order to create a 3D effect. In this one, you can see that Marilyn Monroe's hair is breaking on the left side, and on this one, you can see it in the horse's leg and the string that follows across the cover. Ooh, okay, I went a little bit too far. Let's go back. So this next is my artist statement. I'm not going to read through it just because everything that's in it I'm going to talk about in the show and even talked more in depth about. So this is just for you guys. When you go through my show later, you can just read through it to refresh yourself on why I did this and a little bit about communication arts. Okay, on to the next room. Okay, so this is another environmental mock-up of Illustration Annual 60. And then this is Illustration Annual 60 as a cover. And again, you can see it breaking the border with his beard. And as you probably noticed that the colors of the logo on the iconic mark and the typographic mark are changing throughout each of my colors. I'm doing this because I want like all of the typography to match the photograph or image that's going on in the background, just to kind of have a sense of unity. Mm. Okay, so my last cover is Advertising Annual 60. Um, you probably noticed that the typography at the top right has changed placement. Some of the past covers has it on the top right, kind of stacked on top of each other, aligned right. And this one has the type wrapped around um, the person. So I really just wanted this to be kind of an artistic choice for whoever would be designing this cover, mostly because each cover image is going to change and everything you do is going to look either better or bad. So really just for the person who's designing to make an artistic decision and see what looks best for the cover. Okay, and this is the environmental mock-up for this um, cover. So I took this photo at Barnes& and Noble actually, and it was kind of funny how the magazine right next to it was Tran Nuggins' artwork, of whom I did a cover. That was the first cover you saw, and I also did an article about her. So I thought that was really, really interesting how I somehow got that to work out. Okay. These are my articles I designed. I will go through them a little more at the end so you can see all of the pages. But yeah, this is about Dryly S. Leviathan. When we go through the articles, I'm not, you can read through the articles yourself because they're very long and this is Trey Nuggan who I did a cover on and you've seen a little bit before. And this is Maria Del Rio. She is a photographer. And then my final article is 60 Years of Design article. This is the article that I was referencing from like my love of history. And for those 60 years anniversary, Communication Arts did in their articles, they did a specific like poster-like article that kind of showed like how design has changed throughout those 60 years, and they wanted to show that. So I kind of did my own version of it, and I will show you more about it later. Okay, on to the next room. Okay, so this first one is my style and branding guide for Com Arts. Um, so pretty much this guide describes how Com Arts should be designed and the boundaries that go along with it. Um, I yes, that is another thing I will go through in a minute. Okay, so next are my social media posts. This first one is well, first of all, I decided to do some of their social media rebranding because social media marketing is something that I am interested in for my job on campus. I am the graphic designer for student experience offices. So basically, I design and send out an email called Tiger Life Weekly that goes out every week, and it has all of the events that are going on within the next week. I also design posters for the people in the office or any students who need a poster, and I also create social media posts and post them on the student programming board social media. So yeah, I really enjoy doing that, and it's something I wanted to keep kind of exploring through rebranding this magazine because social media is such a prevalent, important thing right now in the world. Um, Really, that's how a lot of companies advertise themselves as social media. Yeah, so this one right here is an example of a social media post. This is kind of a sneak peek of an article that would be coming out in the next issue of Commerce um, of an artist. It'd be an article about an artist. Um, so that's one example. And then the next example, this is pretty much a example of like of a cover of the next magazine, and basically um, it'd be kind of a sneak peek. So they would take the cover image and zoom into it. So the viewer would be like wondering like who designed this poster, who or whose image is this. So you could really only see the details, and then on every post like this, they would put the communication arts iconic mark on top of it. Okay. So this is a special announcement example. Um, I know Communication Arts does a lot of competitions every year, and they showcase artists and winners on their social media. This is a example of a competition winner post. They would have a picture of the artwork or artworks posted, and they would tag the artist's Instagram handle in the caption. I know you can't read it very well. Okay, finally, this would be an example of like a sneak peek of an article, just like the artist's sneak peek. This is just about an article in general. Okay, so let's go back. We're going to go back to the articles so I can show you more in depth about them. Just give me one moment here. Okay, awesome. So on every article I did, I put a cover on before it, just so you can kind of get that magazine kind of feel. So my first article is about Riley S. Leviathan. Once again, you can read the article time, but if you go to the Communication Arts website, you can access all of their magazines. Um, you can buy them for like $2 or $3 in PDF format, or you can order one um, for probably a larger amount of money. But there's also samples of their articles on there as well, so you can kind of compare like their designs versus my designs if you really want to. So the articles in the original magazines were all white, like the background is all white, and the typography just looked sort of blocked up on the page and not really interacting with the images at all. Um, Another thing that really confused me about the original articles was that the captions were never anywhere near the photographs that they corresponded to. So you were always confused about what matched with what. Um, so yeah, I tried to keep the captions next to the photographs as much as possible, or I always did, just so the viewer was never confused. And you can also see, especially on the front pages, how um, I made the pictures so much bigger instead of just really small. I'll flip through this. Yeah, and this is another example of um, how I did the captions, putting the captions in with a white box, or white box, any colored box. Yeah, so that's my first one. Just give me a minute to get to my next article. Okay, that needs to be shared. Um, my my next article should be showing up for you guys in a minute. Okay. So this is an article about Tran and her ties to emotion. Um, you can kind of see the theme already, how I have blown up the photo um, in most of the first pages of the articles. Here's the next page. Yeah. So with this page, you can also see that box um, theme again, connecting to the image to the caption. With the graphics in the background, if you can look at her picture in the top right, you can see those kind of gold designs she likes to do. And I really wanted to show that in the background, just so the background wasn't so boring and it was a little more interesting. Also, feel free to post comments or questions. Um, I will be answering questions towards the end once I'm done talking about all of my work, and I would love to answer your questions. Yeah, so with this last page, I wanted to do something a little bit different, kind of tying back to that white border I have done on the covers of my magazines. Yeah, so that's my second article. Just give me another minute to share my next one. Okay. So this is an article called Inside the Mind of Maria Del Rio. She's a photographer. You can read all about her. Oop, we just skipped a page. Sorry about that. Yeah, so this first layout, I really wanted to tie the background in with the photographs that are going on. I really liked, so pretty much this dancer is in a dance studio, of course, and I wanted the floor to kind of follow along with the floor in the two photos since they are so similar. And I also wanted to tie in the bars in one of the photos. And the reason I didn't follow it along across the layout was because these two photos are not the same size, so it didn't really line up perfectly. And I would have much rather had the floor line up than the bars. And also this caption is just a little bit too big for that, and I think it needed a little bit more room to breathe. You've probably recognized this photo from my social media posts, but yeah, this is just another example of the boxed in caption with the image. Let me share my last article. Okay. Okay, so this is the 60 years of design article I was talking about earlier. Okay. So once again, I wanted um, this to kind of be a timeline showing like when each piece of artwork came out, so it was kind of easier to read. And yeah, so this is was kind of just a fun poster um, design I wanted to do. This was actually one of the first things I created for my show. Yeah, and it ends in 2018 because these were published in 2018 for the 60 years. I'll go back through again. Yeah. Okay, so last thing I'm going to share. Okay, perfect. So this is the style and branding guide you saw earlier. Once again, this is kind of um, something for employees to look at to kind of stay in the boundaries of what you can design and what you can't design and things like that. So a lot of what I did in this book, I took from what I did in my graphic design 3 class. Back during when quarantine first started, all the Doan students had to go home pretty much, and that's when I was taking graphic design 3, and we were working on a 2032 Olympics project, and I was designing the Olympics in Jakarta, Indonesia. And so we had to design so many things for that, and you really don't realize how much goes into the Olympics until until you have to design it and create a whole project for it. So one of the things we did for that was create a style and branding guide. And I took a lot of what I did from that project into this style and branding guide. Um, so yeah, if you want to see my Olympics project, you can go to my portfolio website, rileysouchek.myportfolio.com. Um, but yeah, let's get into this one. Okay, so this first page, the introduction, it's pretty much a lot of what's in my artist statement as well. So I'm not going to read through it. You can do that on a later date if you want. This next page is the contents. You all know what contents are. It's in every single book, but pretty much says what what things are on what pages. Okay, branding. Okay, so these are the logo guidelines for my logo, and I talked a little bit about this at the beginning. Um, but the way I showed what you can do is with the green check marks, and what you can't do is in the red X's. It's pretty much a way for you to look at it and be like, okay, this is what I can do and what I can't do really fast. Um, so the logo can be used as a single color, as shown um, right here on a white background, and it can also be used as a single color on a colored background, and it can also be used on an image or pattern, but I put an image. So the ways you can't use the full logo, you can't rearrange the iconic mark and the typographic mark. Um, they have to stay in that same way as you can see over here. Another way, um, you can't change the iconic mark and the typographic mark always have to stay the same color. You cannot, change the colors of anything. And you also can't tilt it either. It always has to stay horizontal. And you can't put a border around it either. So this over here is called the protected area. Pretty much, as an example, I took the O out of com and put it around, and pretty much um, nothing can like go inside those borders. Yeah, and it's pretty much the same for my secondary marks. I've talked a lot about like this is the typographic mark and this is the iconic mark. Um, but really, the only big thing on this is that the iconic mark can only be in front of a pattern or an image. Um, we found out that the iconic mark basically looks a little awkward and a little lopsided if it's not with the typographic mark, and it looks a little better in front of a pattern, as you see here. So this is a typography I use. I was gonna read off the type, but I can't really see it on my screen. So yeah, this is the type I used for my logo and the headings and all of the layout text in my articles. So the color palette, um, basically these are examples of what color palettes you can use. Um, you can see that they're all muted tones. Each palette is secondary or complementary to the image you use, mainly in both articles and the cover. Okay, so next, goes next. This is creative direction. This is also says most everything that's in my artist statement. You can also read it later. Um, and next to that are this whole next section is about the covers. And this page basically talks about like what goes where and why we do this on each of the covers. And the next few pages um, are examples. It's my covers again, but for like future digital artists, if they were to create magazines for Com Arts, they could look back in the style guide for examples of covers, so they could have like some inspiration of what they would want to do. So yeah, these are it. Um, so I talked about social media already. This is basically just like the pages of my covers. Um, but these pages basically describe what types of social media you can do. Um, for Instagram, for example, and yeah. So that's all of my style guide, and there's the next page. Okay, that is everything, I think. I would love to answer all of your wonderful questions. And if you would like to see anything again, I can surely show you. Um, oh, Olivia. Okay, good question. Um, that's a really hard question. I really think my hmm, I feel like I have to go through my entire show again and look at everything. I think my covers are my favorite. Just because um, I put a lot of thought into them, and I think they are the most unique out of everything I've done. Okay. Yes, all the articles I've done, they were articles in the actual magazines. So all of the text I pulled from the magazines and all the image I pulled from the magazines. I just made it better in my view. That's a really good question. I think like you can look at inspiration from any time. I think a lot of people are drawn to certain things from different times. Like a lot of like 70s styles are coming back into trend. So yeah, I think yeah. I actually didn't know any of these artists. One thing I enjoyed about this project was learning about new artists because there's so many people doing artwork these days. And personally, I never really got into reading magazines, design magazines specifically before starting this project. Um, yeah, so I've really enjoyed just learning more about art in general. And I think my favorite, I gotta look, hold on. I really like the photographers I've done. They're all very interesting. Who is your greatest art inspiration? Oh my gosh. I honestly, I think it's more um, trends that inspire me rather than artists specifically. I think I draw a lot of my organic um, ideas from a lot of artists in surrealism. I don't have a specific one. I don't really think there are limits on how a person can use logos. It's really just what looks better and works better. Hmm. Liz, if you're talking about my iconic mark, making it hard to balance, I think it really just depends on the design. Thank you for all the questions. I'm enjoying this. Um, PJ, I think the hardest part about creating this project is just having the mental capacity. getting getting to the final solution has been the hardest part for me. It's just that middle area when you keep designing and you keep designing and you're thinking that like you're never going to get to the final point. That's the hardest part for me, but once you get over that bridge and you're like finally I figured it out. Um yeah, that's what's worth it for me. That hard part in the middle. And I feel like all artists have that problem. Yes, Liz. So if you saw on my slides, most social media, the Instagram social media sizes are 1080 by 1080 pixels. Um, so anything you design, you would have to keep in mind like that square shape. So you would need to um, keep that in mind, yes. But I know Facebook and Twitter, they all have different sizes for their posts and their cover photos. And that is one thing about my social media branding. I do wish that I had more time to branch away or farther than just Instagram. I would have loved to do more things with like Facebook and um, Twitter or maybe Pinterest. I don't know, but there's definitely a lot more things I could have done with this project that I just simply didn't have time for. Any other questions? Okay. Um, well, while we wait for questions, we can definitely go through a few of my stuff again. Um, if you would like to see anything else, please put it in the chat. So if you would like to check out my show on your own, there is a link posted now that you can check out. Thank you. One thing I would also, there are a lot of things, there's not necessarily anything I would have changed about this project, but I would love to have done a lot more covers as well. I think it helps both. It helps both people to understand how to use what you make um, and how the marketing team makes it. So um, I know like even Doan University has guidelines on how to promote their stuff. Um, and I think like even if you like choose, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was reading the comments, but if you Google um, like style guide of any company, you can look through it. Like I looked at Time Magazine a lot, and there's so many. You can just Google and see like how they run their company, how they design things. Also, another thing that I would have wanted to add is like stationery um, promotion. Like cover letters and envelopes and pencils and um, I don't know, erasers. But I would have loved to like design promotional items and stationery for com arts. Like if a company wanted to promote their their company com arts, they would um, like put their logo on a mug or a coffee cup or anything like that. I think that would have been a lot of fun. How do I pick my colors? I really like for my whole show. I specifically for like the cover of the style guide. I really wanted to kind of go with colors I liked, but I also stuck with like the muted tones. Um, and let's go to the style guide. Yeah. So these colors I chose were basically on my preference, and I just stuck with the muted tones to stay with the whole um, brand idea. With the other colors on like the articles and the covers, I really just chose the colors that were either in the photographs from the articles or covers and kind of went with it. Everything should match, is basically what I'm saying. Any other questions? All right, if there aren't any other questions, I think we're going to be done. Oh, there's another one. Of course. Actually, I'm sure, Liz, that you could probably Google and like there's so many complimentary color help websites. Ooh, sorry about that. Um, but yes, I took color theory last semester, so I could probably help you with that. um, companies I've seen rebranded in the past, like especially for some reason, I saw Burger King got rebranded not that long ago, and they have like specific colors that they used. That orange, blue, and red, and probably one or two other ones. But the colors, especially for food service, are so important, and you can't just change the colors, but you can definitely change the design. But most colors stay the same. But with communication arts, since it's a design magazine, there's really no specific color palette, and that's why my color palette is so vast because I don't really want it to be just like three colors because I mean in design there's so many choices. Okay, I think we're gonna be done. Thank you for you guys coming out and watching my show. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the questions. Um, yeah, I want to thank the whole art department because you guys have really helped me a lot. Thank you to my family and friends for supporting me along the way. Yeah, so that's it. Thanks, guys.